Well, first off, again, thanks for coming on this beautiful old day, signing day. It's really become a 2-day show for you guys, I think, and it's interesting that it really has become a two-day deal. But we got the majority of our guys, most importantly, signed back in December, and then you got this next day this morning, to sign a few others, and there still may be some more to sign as we go through here the next couple weeks, maybe the next month, maybe the next month and a half, maybe the next 4 months, Jerry. So don't ask. But we're happy to announce 2 more signees today. I think you guys already got their names, but the only 2 that we expected today, I might add as well. The first one is Nolan Ulizio. Nolan is a incredible 6'5", 305-pound athlete. Went through a couple O-line coaches, obviously a transfer from the University of Michigan. Was there with Coach Harbaugh. I know Coach Harbaugh did not want him to leave, so that's always a good thing when someone's trying to get you to stay. But he felt like it was best for him to go play his last year of eligibility somewhere else, get an opportunity to develop under Coach Borbley. So we're excited to have him. He's originally from Lakota West High School, played for Larry Cox there, and I've known Larry for a long, long time. And I think the day he went on the, I guess they call it the portal. I guess they call it the portal. The day it went on the portal, me and Coach Borbley were in touch with Coach Cox, and he couldn't speak more highly of him. He was our number 1 offensive tackle get, and not only were we excited to have him, I think we're lucky to have him. And I say lucky because he turned out a bunch of people. I think he took 1 official visit. He had a bunch of visitors the first week. The second week after he visited us, he had to cancel. Someone was supposed to come in on Monday to see him from down south, and turned him down, said, "Don't come see me, I'm done." Had to make 4 or 5 calls that morning just to kind of cancel things up, and said, "I'm here." And when I say lucky, I say we're lucky because he's really from Center Township, Pennsylvania. And his whole family grew up in this area, so he's I guess the family's a longtime Pitt people, and so we're lucky. We're really lucky to have him. I think obviously the city of Pittsburgh, the great city of Pittsburgh, which the family loves on the visit. It's mom, dad, grandfather's there, sister Rudy's there. I mean, the entire family's excited for him to be just visiting the city of Pittsburgh, and they had an outstanding weekend. So we're excited to have Nolan on this football team. He'll be here for Summer School 1, and again, I'm sure you guys will get more. The next guy, Servassier, Dennis, 6'1", 210-pound linebacker. Another interesting story about him is we weren't really looking for him. I'm out junior recruiting, which the month of January ends up being a lot of that. So I'm in New Jersey recruiting, and Coach Sam was get me around as many schools as I could. We sit into Petty School with their athletic director and the head football coaches in some administrative meetings. And Petty School is a very prestigious academic institution, as well as obviously football school. And Coach Mielo there, again, was in meetings. So talking to the AD, we're just talking about the underclassmen, and he said, "Gosh, I think one of our best players is still, this linebacker that hasn't signed anywhere." I'm like, "A linebacker? We could use a linebacker." So we just started talking about Servassier, and I said, let me see his highlight tape. So I Googled him. I'm just watching him on my phone, watching him play, and I'm like, he's pretty good. And I hear the story really of why he's still out there, which I don't know if anybody really knows the story. I think he's a diamond in the rough athlete, but he was a quarterback in high school as well as a defensive back, but played quarterback, primarily as a junior. Got into his senior year. Tore his Achilles tendon, was out, so really missed his entire senior year. So he did a PG year. So he's really a year older coming from the Petty School because he's from Syracuse, New York, and played at CBA High School up in Syracuse, New York. So I watched the videotape, pulled him down. We interviewed him. We talked to him for a while, and he showed me a couple other plays. I said, "Can you dunk? I can bench 225 13 times." So Graham was just going to pull up a couple. We might have to cut the lights down a little bit. So as I continued to investigate, I thought you guys would enjoy just watching a little bit of what we kind of do when we're, investigating who this guy is. It's only on one side. You want to turn the lights down, Graham? Or I should get Chad in here. So just just what kind of athlete? He's 6'1", 210-pound guy. Can we get at the beginning or? Okay, here he is. Just an example of what kind of athlete he was. So I'm kind of going, golly, We investigated. He was at a summer camp up at Northwestern. There's another video there. Just a different angle, just him kind of getting up but just for a 6'1" guy to leap like that and be explosive like that, then seeing the things he did in camp, you go, this kid is falling through the cracks. And I show you that video about how impressive that kid is. If that kid plays a senior year, we might not touch him at CBA high school. He goes on a PG year, and we turn over a few stones when you walk into high school to find this guy. And 10 minutes after we offered him, all of a sudden he had a couple more offers come, trickling in. I won't say where or who, but he had a couple more offers come in right afterwards. But I warned him that was going to happen. But this guy's available because of injuries, and everybody's done so early. We offer guys really, after their junior year. And this is a kid that didn't get a chance to even play his senior year in high school. So we're excited to have Savasier, goes by the name of Voss. We're excited to have him in the class as well. So that's really our signing class. You want me to ask questions about signing class first and then move on to the other topics?
We can move on to questions now. We're talking about
questions about these two young men, or one old man, one young man.
Is it harder to find diamonds in the rough nowadays than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago?
Absolutely, it is. It really is. And again, we fell into this one. It's not like we were hunting, but you go in and ask questions, and the AD, the athletic director, was adamant about this guy. Coach, I think he's going to play in the NFL. He might be one of the best players we've had at the Petty School. So you kind of you go in there and you listen, and then you try to evaluate for yourself who he is. And great parents, as well. I talked about Nolan's parents being from the area. Both his parents spent 12 years in the military. He's a very disciplined kid, very smart, and fits right in, with that linebacking crew. So it's certainly harder nowadays with social media, but the ones you can find are these ones that get injured. There should be like an injury portal, and then it would be a little bit. Maybe Jerry, you can make that up. An injury portal where guys that were injured as juniors or seniors could put their name in there and get looked at.
Better path that's this way than it was maybe when you first.
Oh yeah, it's fun to do it the other way, the old way, but it's so everything is I'm blessed to have my 38th offer, and everybody knows, and as soon as you get the blessed to get your first offer, right after that you get 20 more, and it's amazing how many schools I walk into, even in their senior year, it's like how many you got 25 offers, how many people have you seen come in and walk through your school? Oh, coach, only half of them. So it's a phone love relationship, and that's the difference.
Obviously, it's rare. When was the last time you can remember recruiting a kid that way, the old school way of find me his tape and I'll just go grab him from his classroom or whatever?
Darquez Denard was one of those guys. He was a 2-star guy down in Twiggs County, Georgia, all the way down in some far south cotton fields. He was a guy that we saw off another guy's tape and kind of said, we like that guy too, let's go get him. So maybe that might be the last one that you really didn't know much about and fell in too late. Maybe that's a good sign.
You guys obviously had limited numbers in this recruiting class. You signed most of them, like you said, in December. That's kind of why today there's only just a couple of guys. Do you think other years would be different, that you would end up with having more excitement, I guess, in February, or do you think it's kind of trending more? It's going to be more and more just December.
I heard something like 92% of kids signed in December a year ago. I don't know what the number was. Maybe you guys can tell me, but I think it's going to be less and less. That will wait till February. I think some coaching changes that happen in December maybe affect some of the numbers about where I'm going to go, but I think it's going to be 90 plus, which is we'd like to have our work done. Because when we go out in January, it's really a head start to get the head football coach into some high schools to see high school coaches in that area, which we normally you don't normally get the chance to do that. The spring evaluation period, we don't get to go see high school coaches, so it was just great to get around and see a lot of coaches.
What would you line up with initially?
He'll start off at right tackle, most likely. It's the intentions.
You made a lot of changes to kind of routine to the whole recruiting
process that you guys went through because of the changes to the NCAA rules. And how would you sort of evaluate how all that worked out for you with having the official visits in June and you know, now that you've kind of can look back on the entire process?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this back in December. You know, I think it was outstanding. I mean, I think, you know, our plan as far as what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, was well thought out. I thought it was executed properly. I mean, you know, that June official visit, which we're going to make it another big one. You guys should have a parade that weekend in Pittsburgh. But you know, I think it planned out perfectly. That's what we'd like to do. And you know, and again, there's no distractions that time of year. Just like there's no distractions in December. But to bring kids on campus during the season, there's distractions, and I are very, you know, very much, you know, discourage, you know, our student athletes to visit during the games. Come unofficially, but don't come officially, because I'm not going to spend any time with you.
Have you been to Petty School before?
Yeah, I've been.
You recruited other kids there. They known as school next
Yeah, you know, I don't, you know, I don't go back and look at the numbers of what they've had, but they've, you know, they've had players out of there. They play a great schedule. It's good football. You know, New Jersey's good football. You know, like the state of Pennsylvania, and the Petty School. You know, I couldn't tell you who and in what years, but they've, you know, they get at least 4 PG kids a year, so they're getting kids that kind of maybe fell under the cracks or didn't get what they wanted, you know, development-wise or, you know, ability-wise.
Yeah, we talked to you a couple weeks ago. One of us asked you about the schedule, and you're like, I'm just trying to find the next guy to line up at left tackle. With no one starting off at right, does that mean there's someone you guys have you feel pretty good about on the blind side?
Yeah, and I'm not going to mention any names, but you know, we've got, you know, I've been impressed with all our young guys. We've got some big athletes, you know, whether it's Carson Van Lin, Gabe Hoy. I mean, I'm not going to say there's one guy there. You know, J.D. Drake, Carter Warren. I mean, those are all guys that are going to be fighting this spring to see who the top 2 guys are coming out of the spring at left and right. So I think there's some great competition out of some guys that can, you know, play, and they're going to, you know, obviously have an entire, you know, winter conditioning fourth quarter starting here in another week. Actually started yesterday, but some smaller fourth quarters. So those are just 4 names, and I probably missed somebody, and they'll probably be mad at me, and I'll probably hear about it later on because of you.
Davis was in here talking to us a little while ago. I mean, you know, obviously Kenny came in early. There's been some of that. I mean, is that kind of become more maybe for guys at that position, and just as soon as they can get here, get them in?
I think it is, you know, and again, I think there's some great things about it, and I think, you know, I think it's all depending on the individual. I just, you know, I don't want to say I discourage it, but I don't press, you know, that's why we probably only have 2. I could press guys a little harder and say, come, we need you here. You know, I think I mentioned in December, I think that, you know, Jared Wayne could have academically been here at mid-year, but decided to stay back. And initially when he committed, said, I'm coming mid-year, and then halfway through his season, he said, Coach, I think I'm going to stay down here in South Florida. I think he liked that compared to the Canadian weather. But you know, there's some places that have 10 or 12 mid-year guys. So I think the mid-year thing is something that's caught fire. I don't necessarily think it's great for kids, and I think it depends on who he is. And the 2 we have right now, you know, Liam and Davis have done a nice job adjusting. You know, they're roommates, and you know, they haven't missed a beat here, and it's going to be outstanding for them, not only academically but athletically.
I mean, you know, you're still a couple months away from really seeing them in a big team environment. But I mean, last guy you brought in as a quarterback who got in here in January was playing by the end of that season. Is that something that comes up at all, or do you sort of take it one step at a time?
One step at a time. He's just, you know, he's learning where he eats breakfast in the morning. He doesn't know where the brown sugar is for the oatmeal yet. He's still trying to figure that out. So, you know, it's a work in progress. And, you know, Coach Whipple will work with him, and he'll have an opportunity to get more developed than he would if he didn't come in. So, we want to get as many quarterbacks as ready as we possibly can.
To have that, the Coastal Championship this year, did it make things easier? I don't want to say easier, but just to have that to show these kids?
Well, I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, when you play in a championship game, and, you know, you can throw the, you know, if you told me, hey, you can win 7 and play the ACC championship, or you can win 10 but not, you know, have an opportunity to play in that game, I'm picking the 7. I want to play in a championship game. I think everybody wants to play for a championship. I think when you walk into high school, the first thing the coaches are talking about is, Coach, great year, man, that was awesome. I watched, you know, again, sometimes the wins and losses don't matter. It's a championship that really matters. And, you know, we took the first step of winning a championship, and that's getting to the championship game. And the next step is to go there and win the thing. And I think our kids have a lot of confidence in and maybe taking that next step and knowing what it takes to get there.
Why does Mark Whipple answer at offensive coordinator?
Well, that was my next topic. So, obviously we're going to, give you an opportunity to meet with two of our new assistant coaches, and the question is Mark Whipple. So, the first guy I'll talk about is our new offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple, officially. I know I was in the Ice House, down at Station Square or Market Square to talk about him a little bit already, but not in front of the cameras. But why is Mark Whipple the guy to run our offense? Number one, I've known Mark for a long time. I've never worked with him, but I've always had the utmost respect for who he is, how he did his business, the relationships he had with his players. When you ever read articles and you played against him for years. I was at the University of Rhode Island when he was a head coach at Brown, and also at the University of Massachusetts his first go-around, and won a national championship there. But as an old defensive coach and linebacker coach, the thing that always impressed me is what he did to a quarterback, okay? And again, I didn't know how. I just remember back in the days, of saying, that guy turns quarterbacks to gold. I don't know what he does. I mean, it's like they got a new quarterback. Oh, we'll be able to beat him this year. All of a sudden, this guy's throwing the ball lights out. So I think it's his style. I've listened to him coach, the last few weeks, whenever we have opportunities here on the weekends, after recruiting weekends, just talking ball. He's a ball coach. He's a football coach. And I think he brings, a passing game that we desperately needed. I think he'll be able to blend his run game in with our current run game, the stuff that we do want to keep as we go through our cut-ups. And that's why he's the best guy for the job, to continue to develop, our quarterback room, and to, give our offense, some confidence in what they're doing in the passing game. And I've already seen, really, without even watching the kids run around on the field, a change in how we do it and what it's possibly going to look like. So he's had success everywhere he's been throwing the ball.
Yes, I'll ask you one more recruiting related.
Okay. My next guy, a receiver, and you can ask me that recruiting question right afterwards. The next guy is Chris Beatty, our new receiver coach who came from Maryland. He's been on, as he called it, the hamster wheel as far as some coaching changes, and not to his desire. He's been forced sometimes to make some moves, but a guy that is highly regarded as a great recruiter. But, the things besides recruiting and what he's done there, the type of person he is, because, it comes down to the people you bring in here. And again, Mark Whipple is great people. Chris Beatty, great people. And it's, and Coach Whipple mentioned the other day, we're, currently trying to hire some GAs and some quality control coaches as well. And he made the statement, it was good to hear it come out of his mouth. He goes, hey, I just need good people. Good people that will, listen to what you want, take directions, and then execute the plan. Those, Coach Beatty and Mark Whipple are great people, as well as great recruiters. And again, Chris Beatty will bring a new freshness to that receiver room, and again, be able to blend that passing game in, first day, with the new offense coordinator.
Does
So.
it help, real quick, Bob, does it help, I know you've had coaches with NFL ties before, does it help when you have a guy that you bring in that has ties to the NFL and ties next door?
It does if it's the right fit, and he's the right fit. And again, worked in Pittsburgh, worked in Philly, worked with the Browns, but we interviewed an O-line coach a year ago that played or coached in the NFL for a long time, and it was like, no way. Okay, so it depends on, this guy has coached at the next level. He's coached great players, from the receivers to the quarterbacks and a tailback position through the years that he's developed, the entire passing game, the entire football team. So it helps when he's a college guy that's also coaching the NFL, as opposed to a pure NFL guy trying to make a transition to college football. But it certainly does help. Back to your recruiting question.
Anyone else coaching?
You guys, we can go back and forth on the coach,
I was
whatever you
just
want to do.
Say, 2 years ago, Brandon Hodges comes in late in the summer. Last year, you guys got Will Bragg. What are the chances of you going that route again, bringing in one of those grad transfers sort of later in the calendar?
There's a chance. We're looking for the best available. So,
Any specific spots?
no. Give me a good player, we're going to go get him.
A couple of years ago, this day, you said that we want to, something along the lines of we want to recruit in our backyard first. You end up with just 2 players from Western Pennsylvania and nobody from Ohio. Is that just the way this class worked out, or is that some kind of change in focus?
No, it's just the way it works out. I mean, we recruit the heck out of it. Matter of fact, I think there's more players in Western Pennsylvania than there was a year ago, I believe. There's more in Ohio. I mean, when I get to go out and do some, junior recruiting, in whether it's New Jersey, east and west of us in Ohio, and obviously the state of Pennsylvania, I've been really the entire state here looking at some of the top guys. So it's a better year. Every year is different. And, we don't have as many scholarships next year either. We're still, a smaller year scholarship-wise, maybe less, next year than this year, I think, at least initially. It's just the way, the cookie comes down to it. But, we're looking for the best football players. And if it's in our backyard, that's great. We're going to recruit the best. And sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't get them, sometimes you don't want them. So that's how it goes sometimes. Just based on need and what what fits your needs.
You go to Florida a lot. I think you had 17 guys in Florida the last 2 years. But did it concern you that you only have 1 or 2 Western Pennsylvania guys this year?
No, we're looking for football players and we're trying to win a championship. So, in the end, if we're in the ACC championship game and you're looking down, if you're looking for the initials at the end of the city they're in, is it PA, is it FL, is it MA? It doesn't matter where they're from. It matters what they do on the field because that's what you'll be asking about. I know that. You ain't going to be asking like, hey, he made a play today, but he's from Florida. How come we couldn't get that guy in New Jersey? I don't care where they're from. We're going to recruit the heck out of our backyard. We spend a ton of time in the schools from, Ohio to New Jersey, and we're going to, we'll get the ones that want to come. I want guys that love Pittsburgh. Okay, and that's what it comes down to. You either love Pittsburgh and you want to stay here and play for your city, or you don't. And if you don't, I'm good. We wouldn't win with you anyway. It's beautiful.
Any additional questions before we get to our new staff members?
Yeah, Chris Beatty is a guy that has a lot of experience in DC, Maryland. You already have Audrey Powell, this was considered pretty heavily. Was wanting somebody else with ties to that region the specific thing you were looking for when you hired him, or just kind of a bonus?
It's a bonus, I would say. Although if you looked in the DMV area, it might be as loaded as it's ever been. That might be one of the loaded. So it really, I'm not, going to bring a receiver coach in there because he recruits this area. That's always the last question. Hey, where do you like to recruit? Where have you recruited? But we tried to hire Chris at Michigan State years ago when I was there, and we couldn't get him. Okay. So I've known that name. I didn't necessarily know him as a person, but everything you hear about him, is just top notch. He actually grew up across the street from Mark D'Antonio's brother. How about that one? So there's another one there for you, Jerry. Another tidbit for you. Virginia.
Get any good Percy Harvin stories?
He will. I can guarantee you he'll have some Percy Harvin stories. Any other questions?